Well, we've got showers, thunderstorms, and some severe weather up and down the eastern seaboard. It's a busy night from Maine to North Carolina, and it's all ahead of a very warm weekend and a heat wave for next week. We celebrate the arrival of summer right here on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And if you'd like to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, on the descriptor that you'll find right underneath the title, is a link to, it's our referral link to Amazon. If you shop on Amazon, use our referral link to take you there, and Amazon will throw us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. You shop, and it doesn't cost you one extra cent. It's out of Amazon's pocket. It's an easy way to keep the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast free of at least the live stream free from commercial interruption. And Tempest by WeatherFlow. Would be handy to have the Tempest weather station when you've got severe weather, and you can get it and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board tonight. It's also on the descriptor to this podcast, and if you use the coupon code Summer 2025, what will you get, Joe Rayo?
Looks like you will be getting 10 big percent off. So take advantage of this offer now.
Yes. So you don't see this too often, but today we're definitely seeing it, and you can thank the very warm, humid air that streamed up the eastern seaboard and the very unstable atmosphere and a lovely little shortwave that is moving along. I'm going to bring up the SPC map here, if I can somehow manage it. Just give me a moment. There you go. So we've got severe thunderstorm watches that are up from northernmost Maine all the way down into North Carolina, where a new severe thunderstorm watch box just went up. And we still have a lot of activity going on the radars. And Joe Rayo will be taking us on a tour tonight because it's been busy. I did see a tornado warning earlier near Philadelphia, along with a whole bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings.
Yes, and you were absolutely right. In fact, there is an arc of activity. Actually, it looks like right now, at least to me, that most of the heavy duty stuff is going to miss where I am up in Putnam County. It looks like from about New York and westernmost Long Island, and then you arc south and west back toward Philadelphia and down into Maryland and into Virginia and northern sections of North Carolina. That's where the deepest shades of orange and red happen to be, and that's where the deepest or heaviest rounds of convective precipitation is occurring. So if you're looking for the possibility for some severe weather, that is the zone in the next couple of hours to avoid, or maybe if you're looking for that kind of weather, not to avoid. But up here, Joe, it looks like for me, while I will not rule out the possibility over the next couple hours of a couple of locally hard showers or maybe a brief downpour, in terms of vivid lightning, hail, damaging wind, I really don't think we're going to be in that particular scenario for this evening. It's mostly places to the south that will be seeing that activity over the next couple hours. A lot of those watches, by the way, will be expiring by 9 o'clock tonight.
All right, we'll take them on the radars. I got a wide shot here. I'll put that up right now, and then you load up your radars and take them on a tour. But this is what it looks like at the moment up and down the East Coast. We've got actually there's a bunch of lines here. There's one in Maine. There's another one. Well, there's the area that's running from the edge in the lower Hudson Valley down through New Jersey, Delaware, and into Virginia. Then there's another set. There's a line behind that's formed that just some storms just went through Syracuse, and then also now approaching I-81 in Pennsylvania. So there's still some more work to do here before this weather front moves its way offshore. So you ready to go?
Yep, I'm all set. And
Take it away.
Let's go up to. I'm going to first. I'm going to need to get the share button pressed, and we'll do that. And the first place we're doing is Caribou, Maine, Holton, Maine, and that area that Joe mentioned up in northern sections of Maine. There you see that line. It actually looks like it's coming in from Quebec and moving at a pretty good speed to the east. And that's a pretty good looking line, I might add. The areas of, or the shades of red are still quite intense as they cross the border into Maine from Quebec and moving again at a pretty good clip. So if you're in, let's say, western or northwestern sections of Maine, you may very well be hit with some rather heavy-duty shower and thunderstorm activity over the next 60 minutes or so as this line moves through. But the interesting thing is, it looks like it's an isolated line. In other words, it does not extend. What you're seeing at the final few frames of the loop is the bottom end of the line. It does not seem to be extending any further south into, let's say, New Hampshire or Vermont. I'll prove that to you by showing you a view from, let's show you Albany, and you can see that there are some widely scattered showers and storms, but again, that line of activity in Maine does not extend anywhere near into Vermont and New Hampshire. Now, there are some, spotty cells of heavy precipitation that's popping up, almost like acne, if you will, over portions of Vermont and New Hampshire, but really nothing organized. For the Albany area proper, there's some stuff well to the north of them. You have to go up on the northway to get into any kind of significant rain activity. And as you go southbound, also pretty wide open. There's nothing really to show. We'll show you the view from Upton, eastern Long Island, which of course is the New York City perspective. And there are showers and storms, but notice, if you will, that they're weakening some as they move across central and north central New Jersey. They're pretty potent in southeastern Pennsylvania, but as soon as they cross over into New Jersey, they start to weaken a bit. And this is what I meant a few moments ago, that, for me, there may be a few waves of rain and shower activity, but nothing really that we can't handle, nothing that would lead to, let's say, flash flooding. Maybe 1 or 2 minutes of a downpour, maybe, if we go that far, but it looks like most of the convection, most of the real heavy-duty action is south of where I am, south of the lower Hudson Valley, down the coast. And even as you go down the coast, down the Jersey Shore, again, it looks like a lot of that activity is beginning to wind down now. Let's go to the Dover Air Force Base, Ellendale radar, give you some idea of what's going on further south. And again, you see that there's a lot more yellows as opposed to oranges and reds. So again, it indicates that the heavy-duty activity, the activity that all of the watches were put up for earlier on in the day, for the potential threat of hail and high winds and whatnot, that looks like it's going to go out the door or out to sea. And so we really don't need to worry. But again, there's some wet, showery rains falling over the southern two-thirds of New Jersey right now, also falling across portions of Delaware, southeastern Pennsylvania, and easternmost sections of Maryland, down the coast, almost to down the Delmarva coast, down to about Wallops Island. Let's check out, let's say, the Washington, D.C., Sterling, Virginia radar. And you can see that there's some areas of red, some intense activity going on across portions of lower Delaware and across coastal sections of Virginia. And again, it's nothing really organized. In fact, the ironic thing is, it looks like the most organized line of precipitation, the most organized line of convection or thunderstorms is well up to the north, up across, as we noted a few moments ago, western sections of Maine. But meanwhile, further south, while there is, some embedded convection, some embedded showers and storms, it doesn't really look like anything that is noteworthy or anything that is capable of producing something severe. We'll go further south now. This is Norfolk, Virginia, Wakefield area. You can see a broken line here, But even as I speak to you, look how the line kind of breaks down and diminishes somewhat in potency as it approaches the Delmarva coastline. More showers and intense thunderstorm activity over the northern and centralmost sections of North Carolina. But even again here, doesn't look like the activity is really holding together all that well. Let me go to Raleigh and show you that, again, this one area up here looks very dynamic, but as we move along, it begins to kind of peter out a bit. So, again, any shower and thunderstorm activity looks to be more regular. They actually did, as I suggested yesterday, within the area of the slight risk, they did put an area of enhanced convection possible, enhanced for severe weather activity. But it looks like, again, a lot of that activity was based upon the heat of the late afternoon sun. Now we're approaching sunset in many areas, and it looks like now as the air begins to cool off a bit, the activity is beginning to diminish. By the way, here in Putnam Valley today, I'm not sure what they got to in Central Park, but in Putnam Valley, we got to 91 degrees today.
Wow. So that's the next step is going to be
The
transitioning over
heat.
to this hot in the heat for next week. And I suppose Sunday might be the first day where you'll start to see more 90s than 80s. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week are just going to be very hot. Now, how hot remains to be seen. Though I think we could probably toss the idea of the 108 that the European had. I didn't look at the GFS today to see if it, because the GFS yesterday was about 5 to 8 degrees lower on most of those days for next week. But it seems to be the general consensus that you know low to mid 90s on average, mid to upper 90s maybe on the two hottest days, maybe some hot spot in New Jersey gets to 100. I suppose that's not impossible.
It is, again, this looks like with the ridge building, with the highest pressures, upper level high pressure systems building over upstate New York and central and northern New England later Monday and Tuesday. If you're looking for extreme temperatures, if you're looking for century mark temperatures, that may very well be the place to go. Not to, belittle the fact that in New York City proper, temperatures aren't going to be reaching at least to the mid 90s, maybe the upper 90s, but the real core of the heat looks like it's going to be to the north. And we've seen that over recent summers where we've had cases where Caribou, Maine, for example, 97, and Montreal, upper 90s, while areas to the south, portions of New Jersey, for example, New York, and down toward Washington, Baltimore, were only in the 80s and low 90s. That very well could happen again next week. It looks like the peak of the heat, the worst of the heat, wherever it may be or wherever it will occur, will be on Tuesday and maybe spilling over into Wednesday. So that will be, those 2 days will probably be where the core of the hottest temperatures are going to be occurring. The days of the hottest temperatures will be occurring here in the Northeast. Now, New York, I think Rich Rotmansky pointed out, or maybe it was somebody else, I only got a quick view of it on the chat board, said New York got to 88 today, so the streak continues. No 90 degrees in Central Park yet. It may very well continue tomorrow with a noticeable drop in the humidity, and even into Saturday, it might even be held to below 90. In fact, there's even an outside shot that it could stay below 90 on Sunday, maybe only getting it to 89. But regardless, most definitely, when we get to the start of next week on Monday, New York will get to 90 finally, and it could be well up into the 90s for Tuesday and Wednesday. So the heat is on its way and will be arriving here at the end of the weekend, if not then, certainly by the start of next week.
The chairman, Scott Briller, hit Super Chat tonight. Thanks for banging the tip jar, Scott. And he said the last heat wave at the park in New York was September 5th to the 8th, 2023. The June 27th record high, that was a 4-day heat wave. I'm still old school. For me, it's 5 days in a row of 90s. That's to me is a heat wave. June 27th's record is 97. When is so 27th would be next Friday. Um, I, I would say probably
Oh,
not a good chance of getting the record next Friday because we're going to probably get some kind of frontal passage after Thursday.
yeah, there's some kind of a weak weather front, maybe you could call it a backdoor front, and it looks like that's going to be trying to sag, not push, but
Like us.
sag
It's trying
southward.
to sag like us.
Yeah, ex- exactly. And on Sunday, by the way, there looks to be some kind of a mesoscale convective system, an MCS, or we used to call in the old school days MCC, whatever. There may be a cluster of thunderstorm activity dropping southbound through the northeast. But it looks like, Joe, that if that happens, the places that may get hit the hardest late Saturday night and early Sunday will be the Adirondacks of New York State, the Berkshires of Massachusetts, and then offshore south of, let's say, Rhode Island. And New York, the tri state area, the immediate tri state area, will either be given just a glancing blow or may
Or
not
maybe
see
nothing
any
at all.
and may not see anything at all on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're on the northeast periphery of the ridge, which leaves them susceptible. New England is, which leaves them susceptible to anything that's moving in the flow in over in Quebec and in southeastern Canada. So it does kind of make sense that they're going to probably have a shot for some thunderstorms, and it also probably makes sense that it doesn't really extend far enough south to have any impact for areas eastern Pennsylvania to southernmost New England on southward. All right, we'll go to the watches and warnings map and take a look at what's happening here with regards to. Why am I not seeing this? Nope, that's not the right one. Okay, just bear with me, folks. All right, hang on just a second. Let me give this a quick refresh and see if that helps. Uh, no, for some reason, trying to get the maps up here. Oh, here we go. Okay, now we're good. So here's the watches and warnings, and you see the severe thunderstorm watches in the, I guess that's a salmon color or a pink color from Maine down to North Carolina. Some of the areas in yellow that are in there indicative of where we have some current severe thunderstorm warnings. By the way, it is 7:53 p.m. Eastern time, so if you're watching this on a replay, obviously you're watching us on a replay, so things may be different. You might want to check your local National Weather Service forecast office website to see if there's any severe weather going on in your neck of the woods, because we are going to be dated if you're watching this at midnight or tomorrow morning. We do have various heat advisories up underneath all of this. So you can't really see them, but they're there. And we have there were heat advisories up at least for today. They won't be up for tomorrow. But we do have heat advisories now, as well as excessive heat watch and extreme heat watches and excessive heat warnings, and you're going to burn to death advisories across the South Dakota, Nebraska, northern Kansas, back through eastern Colorado, northern Missouri, and then on up northward from there into Iowa and Minnesota. There's a severe thunderstorm watch in play at the moment, covering much of North Dakota. We have excessive heat warnings continuing in the Southwest, where we're well into triple digits in most places. And here's the satellite loop tonight. I'll just give it a quick refresh, and we can see the lightning strikes going on. They're still pretty active. They may have just passed their peak, just barely, but still busy with lightning strikes in not only up in Maine, but you see them there off the coast of New Jersey and down into coastal Delaware and the southern part of the Delmarva Peninsula. And then there's that cluster that Joe was talking about in North Carolina. Also seeing along the Gulf Coast, you're seeing some showers and storms and some lightning strikes there. And most of those are actually moving from north to south, which is something you see oftentimes during the summer months. And we're seeing some showers and thunderstorms that broke out in Florida that are moving southward. All this moisture that's in the southwest Gulf, by the way, on the lower left, is from what was Hurricane Eric, now a tropical storm that is inland in Mexico, along the south coast of Mexico, and moving northwestward, and that moisture is probably destined to head toward New Mexico and maybe even into West Texas in the coming days. There's the wider radar view. You can still we looked at the activity in the Northeast. We've got these storm showers and some thunderstorms along the immediate Gulf Coast, also in South Florida. Here in North Georgia, it was quiet today. No rain, which was nice. Got a nice break because we've been raining here almost every day for the last 2 weeks plus. Some scattered activity breaking out now in the Dakotas ahead of that severe thunderstorm watch there. We have some activity in western Kansas, scattered around in New Mexico, as well as Wyoming and in Montana. Otherwise, the rest of the West will be dry. So there's SPC with everything that's going on tonight. The enhanced risk in the East. They must have watched the show, Joe. I've always said they lurk in the background yesterday. So this is how they kind of had it. Hasn't really changed very much. They'll probably be doing some adjusting as these storms shift eastward. We have a slight risk in North Dakota through central Minnesota and Wisconsin. And by the way, there was a 2% tornado risk that was indicated for what's going on in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. Now, tomorrow, we have a little upgrade here in the Northern Plains. We have an enhanced risk now in North Dakota and in northern Minnesota. The slight risk pushes into Wisconsin as well as the upper peninsula of Michigan. And you see there's an east-west band there of 2 to 5% tornado risk, a 30% risk for thunderstorms in excess of 65 knots. And that covers a fairly large area in the Dakotas and extending into Minnesota, and also hail, potentially greater than 2 inches or more in diameter, possible over that area for tomorrow. Now, day 3, we are looking. Now, this is for Saturday into Sunday. SPC's got a marginal risk running from North Dakota through Minnesota, the northern Great Lakes, and then it kind of moves it southeastward. They actually have much of New York State and Pennsylvania and northwest New Jersey in a marginal risk for severe weather for Saturday.
Well, that would probably be for, I think, either Saturday night or maybe up until 8 a.m. on Sunday morning.
But why wouldn't they have? Why do they not have? Anything. In New England, it's mostly general thunderstorms, and in Maine, they have the half the state getting no thunderstorms at all. But yet, when you look at what some of the models are doing, I'm just a little bit confused with how they set this up.
Well, if they are watching us tonight, if they're watching us tonight, maybe they'll get the hint that maybe tomorrow they should nudge that at least area of marginal more to the east, as opposed to where they have it right now, because it does not look like. Again, there's a chance that the New York metropolitan area and parts of southern New England may just get a glancing blow out of this, and that's about all. So, and in which case they'd have to move the area of marginal more to the north and to the east to jive with some of the short-term models that we've been looking at this afternoon.
Well, with the ridge building in the east over the next 7 days, and this takes us actually through next Thursday night. So you'll notice that over where you're seeing minimal precip. Now, some of what's in North Carolina and in Delaware and southern New Jersey there, so that's front end loaded. If you take that out, you're probably going to see a quarter of an inch or even a tenth of an inch or less. But again, with the upper ridge, the way it's setting up, it's not a surprise that this whole big area is dry. And then you just go north of where that ridge is, where you start to get into the flow from Canada. You're seeing some potential for some heavy rain involved in thunderstorm activity in Iowa, Minnesota. We've got a 3 to 4 inch area there. Very large area of 1.5 inches plus from Nebraska to the upper peninsula of Michigan. Also, really haven't mentioned this too much, but there has actually been a substantial amount of rain in Alberta, in Canada, particularly in northern Alberta, which has really kind of helped the wildfire situation there. So some good news. And in the southern part of the Canadian provinces, from Alberta west, you're looking at some significant rainfall there being indicated for the next 7 days. So hopefully, we're not in a situation where we're getting a flow from Canada, so we really don't have to worry much about wildfire smoke. So here, the European tonight. Let me just put the surface up, and then we'll take a look at this thing for Saturday night. So here's your front, and it goes by obviously. And tomorrow, a bit on the breezy side, particularly in New England. But yes, definitely lower humidity. Does kick off a few scattered showers, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm in inland areas in southern New York and in northern Pennsylvania tomorrow, with some cold air instability aloft. Saturday day side looks okay, pretty dry. Then you go into Saturday night, into Sunday. Now, the European, you see where the European, Joe, it should be up there on the screen. There's this low that's kind of moving from, I'll even backtrack it. It shoots out from South Dakota over Lake Superior and then moves, east and east-southeast in southern Quebec. But at least if the European is right, all the thunderstorms with that actually go to northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And, there's like a little blob that kind of breaks off and drops down through upstate New York. How real that is, I don't know. But you get my drift here with what I said with respect to where they've laid the risk area. If you believe the European model, um, they've got that risk in the northern lakes and heading into western New York. I'm kind of thinking no. I mean, if I was going to do it, I would probably put it up in northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine.
I would agree. Like I said, the short-term models seem to be suggesting that the lion's share of activity is going to be mostly to the north and to the east of the immediate tri-state area. So the reason to broad brush or paint virtually all of the Northeast, especially areas, it seems, just to the east of Interstate 87, with precipitation, with the possibility of a marginal risk of precipitation, or should I say west of 87, that doesn't seem to make much sense. It would be much better served, I think we would be much better served to place the emphasis on the Adirondacks, maybe, as you pointed out, Joe, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, or maybe even as far south as the Berkshires. But in New York City, there's a chance, just a chance, that we might see a little bit of shower activity and maybe a rumble or two of thunder late Saturday night or first thing Sunday morning. By Sunday afternoon, whatever this is going to be pretty well out of here, and we will be breaking back out into sunshine, and that should set the stage for the beginnings of the big warm up with temperatures near or within a few degrees of 90 on Sunday, and probably into the night, well into the 90s on Monday. And again, we'll probably reach our most unreasonable spell of heat. I was going to say unseasonable, but I'll say unreasonable for Tuesday on into perhaps part of Wednesday as well.
So this is the 500 millibar map for Saturday at 11 a.m. The upper high is in northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, and just beginning to build. There's a deep trough that moves into the northwestern part of the U.S., so some much cooler air coming into the west, which makes sense because you've got a ridge building in the east. But I just want to call attention, if you just look up here near Lake Superior, there's a little V bent in the flow there. That's a short wave that is moving along in that flow. The ridge is building northward at the same time, and it kind of just slides east southeastward, and the kink come Sunday morning is again up northeastern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, western Maine to the St. Lawrence River Valley. I mean, that's where that shortwave is, and at this point, the upper high is strengthening, moving its way up into Kentucky. So once that shortwave goes by, the ridge is just going to be able to just build on in for next week, and you see it there. The only thing I think that's changed over the last couple of days is the upper high on the European is just a little bit further to the south than what it was showing. It was kind of built up more in Pennsylvania and upstate New York, but now it looks like the center of the upper high is going to be somewhere, maybe in Northern Virginia. I'm just kind of guessing here. And that holds through for Monday and for Tuesday. And then you start to see it flatten a little bit on Wednesday, but it's still there. Don't make no mistake. But we finally get to the end of the week. There's the northwest flow from Canada is a little bit further south in New England, so it kind of puts us in a place where we might get some relief at the end of next week, maybe about next Thursday night or Friday, and we get some drier air that comes in and slightly lower in the way of temperatures. And then the ridge just basically goes away because as we move into July, you get for July, this is not too shabby looking a trough that drops down into the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley and swings to the East Coast along about July 2nd or 3rd, if you want to believe it that far out. Because that takes us actually to about day 12, day 13, and then it just sort of moseys right along. The last day on the European is 360 hours, so that's 15 days from now, Joe. It's Friday, the 4th of July.
And everybody, of course, has some plans, I guess, for that particular day and for the weekend that follows. But again, that's still a couple of weeks in advance from now, and still a lot can happen in that 2-week time frame. But if you want to, look at things in the overview of what may or may not happen, it looks like maybe cooler weather here in the east and hotter weather out west. But again, we'll be more specific, obviously, as we get closer to that particular time.
All right. I guess we can do a little Briller Jeopardy if you'd like.
Okay, let me call it up here on my Facebook page, and we will do that now. And this is, of course, from Scott. And here we continue with the highest temperatures of all time in the following states on Briller Jeopardy. And the first state that we will look at will be our 50th state, Hawaii. Hottest temperature ever recorded in the state of Hawaii, and you remember, of course, Hawaii is not just one, but several locations. The Big Island, for example, of Hawaii, and Oahu, where Honolulu is, and some of the smaller islands like Maui and Kauai. He doesn't say where this maximum temperature for the state overall has been positioned, but in any case.
Well, that makes it extra tricky.
Yes.
So I'll take a shot. Part of me wants to say it could not have possibly gotten over 100 there. Maybe middle to upper 90s, perhaps. But like you said, I don't know where this temperature was taken. It could be downslope from some mountain, one of the mountains from on the Big Island, and you get some crazy number. Is it a 3-digit number?
It is a 3-digit number. I will.
So I'll say 102.
Yeah, the tad too hot, Joe, or tad too.
All right. Well, that only leaves 2 other possibilities then.
Yeah.
So Rich Rothmansky said 100, and Frank Scalera said 100, and Latex Dream says 101.
William Huber also says 100. Tyler Finger 100. Frank R 100. And for all of you who said 100, that was it. Okay. 100 degrees. Again,
I was going to say 100, then I thought, you know what, nudge it up a little.
Well, they are, after all, surrounded by water, so that obviously is a modifying effect to any extreme heat they may otherwise have. On the other hand, a state that is not surrounded by water, it's a landlocked state, and it's a state famous for the potatoes, Idaho.
Oh, they could get some crazy numbers sometimes, I guess. 115.
That's a pretty damn good guess, Joe. It's just slightly on the cool side. It's somewhat cooler than the actual extreme air temperature.
Mr. Fenga says 117.
That puts you right in there.
And Mr. Bonsai and Mr. Croce say 118.
118 is correct. 118 degrees, the hottest temperature of all time in the state of Idaho. Next, we move to Illinois, or Illinois,
Illinois.
or Annoy. I'm ill. No, anyway.
Well, you know what? There are some crazy numbers in some of those states. 112?
Not hot enough.
Okay.
Rich Rothmansky, 116. You're ever so close. You're in snake country with that, Rich.
Mark D 42 at 115.
Nah, still not hot
Well,
enough.
that means Mike Waterhouse Bonsai says 118.
No,
Kenny
not
Salerno and now Bonsai says 117.
117 is correct. 117 for the hottest Illinois temperature of all time. Again, I don't know where in Illinois this was recorded, but it's hot nonetheless. Next door, the state next door, Indiana.
Well, I mean, if it got to 118, I don't know, 116?
116, Joe.
116. I got one tonight. Okay,
You
good.
got one. So did David Daniel and Kenny Salerno. They had 116 as well.
Okay.
And Frank Scalera says, good job, Joe. Last one. There's no bonus tonight, so this is the last. Number 5, Iowa.
Iowa.
Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa.
It's Iowa. Which might be better than heaven. What do we say for Illinois?
117.
I'll take it up a notch. I'll say 118.
Good Lord. You and Pat,
Nailed it.
BFD, and Rich Rothmansky. There you go. 118. I can't even imagine being on the Field of Dreams with a temperature of 118 degrees.
Yeah. You got to think the setup was to, I mean, with very dry air. I would think it had to have been set up with some sort of, big upper high and dry air of some sort, and not
I
with
agree.
and not with crazy dew points. So there's that.
And I agree with Rich Rothmansky. At that heat, that the corn probably popped at 118 degrees.
Right?
Good. On the Field of Dreams, I mean, they had to clear away a cornfield, and what little corn that was left at 118 degrees, yeah, that corn would certainly pop with those
It
temperatures.
certainly would.
Yes.
All right. Well, when we come back on Sunday, it will be officially summer. Any plans for the weekend?
We're going to try to put the pool up this weekend. We've got a.
Hey,
we've got
Rocky. Watch
we've
me
got a
pull a rabbit out of my hat.
We have a 15-foot pool, and we're going to try to put it up this weekend. We found out that we were counting on my daughter to help, but now she said, no, I'm going to go to the beach on Saturday. So,
A wise decision on her part.
yes, so maybe we'll put it up on Sunday.
Run
if we can get
away! Run away!
it. Anyway,
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I have an exciting day tomorrow, Joe. I'm going to Costco.
oh, lovely.
Yes, I haven't been to Costco in a while. So I gotta make sure, because Costco is a good hour and a half from here. So, but I will make sure that I get everything. I'm actually going to do something that I don't often, that I always tell myself to do it, and I almost never do it. And ultimately, when I go to a store, I forget what it is I needed to get. So I'm making a list. I'm going to make a
Bobby,
list.
yeah, Bobby Livingworth, how do you know how big the pool is? He's telling me, Joe, it'll take at least a week to fill with water. What do you think I have? One of those gigantic Olympic-sized pools? It's a 15-foot diameter pool. Probably doesn't take more than maybe 3,000 gallons. That pool will be filled up within less than 24 hours.
Oh, yeah. Easy. Easy. And it'll be up in time for nobody to use it next week.
Yeah, it'll be. We put it up. Who'd want to go in the pool when it's 100 degrees?
Well,
As much as
the
it helps me.
upside is though you're just putting in the water, so the water will be take a little while to warm up to the close to the air temperature. So it may actually still be somewhat refreshing maybe on Monday.
It'll
Not
be a, like it'll be like a bathtub.
not on maybe not on Monday, maybe Tuesday, but not on
Yeah,
Monday.
yeah,
All
exactly.
right. All right.
Yeah. How
Well,
deep is the pool? What is the depth of the pool? Tyler Finger wants to know. I'm not exactly sure. Let's just say it's a glorified kiddie wading pool. I mean, it's not, maybe, I don't know, like 3 feet, 4 feet. I'm not sure, but it's a place so that you can jump in and get a quick cool off from the heat. So
all right. Well, I'm on that note. We say goodbye. So we are off tomorrow, and we are off Saturday. So we will be back on Sunday at our usual time, 7:35 p.m. So everybody have a great Friday and a great weekend. Okay.
you too, Joe, and everybody stay cool, stay dry, and we'll see you all on Sunday night.
All right. See you Sunday. Ta ta.